Guardian Angel, an Angelica Dale mystery by P.K. Armstrong. Prologue. October. The cafeteria lights had gone dark hours ago. After the last meal of the day, the tables had been cleared and the floor swept and mopped clean. The silent hum of the kitchen appliances was the only sound as a gloved, hooded figure forced open a back door leading to the kitchen. He paused just inside the doorway and allowed his eyes to adjust to what light there was. Glares from the moonlight reflecting off the shiny aluminum surfaces of the work tables. The backpack filled with what he needed was thrown on the kitchen island, and he prowled around the corners, making sure he was alone. Poking his head through the swinging kitchen doors, his cool eyes briefly examined the cafeteria. After reassuring himself he would not be interrupted, he returned to his bag and pulled out the plastic bag filled with rancid raw meat and got to work. Methodically, he moved about the kitchen, dirtying up door handles and kitchen appliances. Taking each of the knives from their slots, he smeared them with the raw chicken. Lastly, he slathered the raw meat on the cooktop, stove knobs, and even the coffee pot. After he was done, he stuffed the meat back into his bag and glanced around the kitchen, making sure he left no trace of his presence. Finally, he exited the way he came and slowly made his way through the campus to the edge of the property, his dark form melding in with the trees and disappearing into the shadows. Several hours later, the kitchen manager, who had arrived through the front entrance, made her way through the cafeteria, looking about with a practiced eye, making sure everything was as it should be for the first breakfast seating. Sweeping through the swinging doors, she stopped short when she spied the half-opened, broken door. Reaching for the phone on the wall, she alerted security. The police left a couple of hours later with the details for their report. The kitchen manager instructed the staff to begin prepping for breakfast. The police had reassured her it was safe to proceed. The school nurse was only slightly concerned when the next day 2 students had arrived in her office with diarrhea, fever, chills, and abdominal pain. But 6 children later, with the same symptoms, she knew she needed to call the health department. After speaking with the health department, she called administration and had the cafeteria shut down. A teacher was at the door with another child. She sighed and stood up. It was going to be a long couple of days. November. Moving through the parking lot, a nondescript figure in a hoodie and jeans walked towards the window he discovered earlier that had a loose hinge which would allow him access to the employee break room. His thin frame slid through easily, and after allowing his eyes to adjust, his eyes focused on a refrigerator. He pulled the refrigerator out from the wall and used a screwdriver to expose the guts of the machine. He moved to the sink and pulled half a roll of paper towels, which he promptly stuffed into the back of the machine and disconnected the water hose. He waited until he heard the machine make a weird clanging and then used a door to exit into the hallway. Not finding anything else to damage, he left the building and casually walked through the parking lot as if he belonged. Reaching out with the screwdriver, he lined a blue sedan as he sauntered out of sight of the building. December. The dark hooded figure returned, this time breaking into the theater building. He skulked in and out the racks of costumes and props looking for what he needed. He finally found it in a large room filled with backdrops, boxes, bins, and barrels. He grabbed the nearest costume hanging on a rack and tossed in some old newspapers, paper towels, and cooking oil he had brought with him. He watched briefly as the feathers and lace from a costume succumbed to the flames and melted into conflagration. January. The school day was ending in a quiet murmur. Young girls were making their way to the late afternoon activities of intramurals and after-hour tutoring sessions. The traffic on the footpaths between the school buildings was starting to fade. One lone path leading to Dormitory 1 was especially quiet, lined with dense fauna, rock landscaping, and the bubbling sound of well-designed water features. The rustling wind and the running water could not hide the slight sound of a child's whimper. The whimper became a plaintive cry. The cry became a wail. Shouts of adults on the run came nearer. A dark hooded figure leaped out of the brush and disappeared into the trees. Guardian